The starship Horizon floated silently in the dark space near Jupiter. Its crew watched their screens with wide eyes. Something big was coming their way. Admiral Min Jun stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the railing tightly. He had been in space for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "What do you see, Ensign?" he asked. Ensign Lee tapped her screen. "It's huge, sir. Bigger than any ship we've ever built. And it's not alone. There are at least 5 more behind it." Min Jun nodded. He had been waiting for this day his whole life. Humans were not alone in the universe, but he never thought first contact would happen like this. "Send a message," he ordered. "Tell them we come in peace." For 3 tense hours, they waited. The alien ships grew larger on their screens. They were shaped like arrowheads, sharp and deadly looking. Suddenly, a loud beep filled the bridge. "Admiral," Ensign Lee called out. "They're responding." Min Jun leaned forward. "Put it on the main screen." The screen flickered to life. What they saw made them all gasp. The aliens looked like giant praying mantises with big eyes and sharp claws. One of them stepped forward, its mouth parts clicking. "Greetings, soft creatures," it said in a raspy voice. "We are the Zarkon. Your world is now ours." Min Jun felt his heart race. This was not the friendly meeting he had hoped for. "We don't want trouble," he said calmly. "We'd like to talk and learn about each other." The Zarkon made a sound like rough laughter. "Talk? Learn? No, you are prey. We are hunters. That is all there is to know." The screen went black. Min Jun turned to his crew. Their faces were pale with fear. "Get me Earth," he said. "We need to warn them." Back on Earth, people were going about their daily lives. They had no idea that everything was about to change. In New York, Ambassador Su Yun was in a meeting when her phone buzzed. She looked at the message and felt her stomach drop. "I have to go," she said, standing up quickly. "There's an emergency." Within hours, she was in a top-secret bunker with world leaders. Admiral Min Jun's face filled a large screen, telling them about the Zarkon. "They see us as food," he said grimly. "They won't talk. They just want to conquer." President Yunji stood up, her face serious. "Then we have no choice. We must prepare for war." Su Yun shook her head. "We have to try diplomacy first. It's our best chance to avoid bloodshed." The president nodded. "Very well. Ambassador, you have 1 week. Try to make peace. But if you fail, we fight." Su Yun left for space the next day. Her small ship approached the Zarkon fleet carefully. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady as she hailed them. "This is Ambassador Su Yun of Earth. I come to talk peace." The Zarkon let her board their ship. She stood before their leaders, trying not to show fear. "We can learn from each other," she said. "Trade, share knowledge. There's no need for violence." The Zarkon leader, High Overlord Vexcor, clicked his claws. "You speak brave words for prey," he said. "But words do not change nature. We conquer. We consume. That is our way." Su Yun tried for 3 days to change their minds. She offered wealth, technology, anything she could think of. But the Zarkon would not budge. On the 4th day, she sent a message to Earth. "I have failed," she said, her voice heavy with sadness. "The Zarkon only want war." As Su Yun's ship left the Zarkon fleet, alarms began to blare. "Ambassador," her pilot shouted. "They're powering up weapons." Su Yun watched in horror as the Zarkon ships launched an attack. Her ship rocked with explosions. "Get us out of here," she yelled. They barely escaped, limping back to Earth. As soon as they landed, Su Yun rushed to the war room. "They're coming," she said, out of breath. "They've started their attack." President Yunji's face was grim. She turned to the military leaders in the room. "It's time. Colonel Jaho, begin our defense plans. May God help us all." As sirens began to wail across Earth, People looked up at the sky in fear. The war that would decide the fate of humanity had begun. The sky over New Seoul was on fire. Zarkon ships rained down destruction from above. Buildings crumbled, and people ran screaming through the streets. In the heart of the chaos, Captain Sung Min led his team through the rubble. "This way," he shouted, waving people towards a shelter. A woman stumbled, clutching a child. Sung Min scooped up the child and helped the woman to her feet. "Keep moving," he urged. As they reached the shelter, a deafening explosion rocked the ground. Sung Min looked up to see a Zarkon ship crash into a nearby skyscraper. The building groaned and began to topple. Everyone inside. "Now," Sung Min yelled. He was the last one in as the shelter doors slammed shut. The ground shook as the skyscraper hit the earth. Miles above the destruction, Admiral Min Jun watched from his command ship. His face was grim as reports flooded in from around the world. "Status update," he demanded. "New Seoul is under heavy attack," an officer reported. "Tokyo and New York are also hit hard. Our defenses are overwhelmed." Min Jun clenched his fists. "Where's our new weapon? We need it now." "Dr. Yu Jin says it's not ready yet, sir. She needs more time." Min Jun slammed his hand on the console. "We don't have more time. The Zarkon are tearing us apart." Back on Earth, President Yoon-ji stood in the war room, surrounded by screens showing the global carnage. Her advisors argued loudly around her. "We should surrender," one shouted. "Save what's left of our people." "Never." Another yelled back. "We fight to the last man." Yoon-ji raised her hand, and the room fell silent. "We will not surrender," she said firmly. "But we will not throw lives away needlessly. We need a plan." She turned to General Taiwan. "What are our options?" Taiwan pointed to a map. "We've lost our major cities, but we still hold most of our military bases. If we can regroup and launch a counterattack." An alarm blared, cutting him off. A young officer burst into the room. "Madam President, the Zarkon have landed troops. They're on the ground." Yoon-ji's face paled, but her voice remained steady. "Where?" "Everywhere, Mom. They're spreading out from the cities they've taken." The room erupted in panic. Yoon-ji silenced them with a sharp gesture. "Listen to me," she said. "This is humanity's darkest hour, but we are not defeated. We will fight back. We will survive. And we will win." She turned to a communications officer. "Get me a line to every TV, radio, and phone on the planet. It's time to rally our people." As Yoon-ji prepared her speech, the battle raged on. In the ruins of New Seoul, Captain Sung Min emerged from the shelter. The city was unrecognizable. Smoke filled the air, and distant explosions echoed between shattered buildings. Sung Min gathered his team. "We need to reach the military base," he said. "It's our only chance to fight back." They moved cautiously through the streets. Suddenly, a hair-raising screech filled the air. A Zarkon soldier leaped from a nearby rooftop, its claws gleaming. Sung Min raised his rifle and fired. The Zarkon fell, but more appeared behind it. "Run!" Sung Min shouted. They sprinted through the ruins, Zarkon in hot pursuit. Just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, a squadron of human fighters roared overhead. Missiles streaked down, blasting the Zarkon troops. Sung Min and his team reached the base, exhausted but alive. Inside, they found organized chaos as soldiers prepared for battle. "Captain Sung Min reporting for duty," he said to the commanding officer. "What's our next move?" The officer pointed to a map. "We're gathering all survivors here. Once we have enough force, we strike back." As they planned their counterattack, President Yoon-ji's face appeared on every working screen around the world. Her voice was strong and clear. "People of Earth," she began, "we face an enemy unlike any we have known. They think we are weak. They think we are prey. But they are wrong. We are humanity. We have faced extinction before, and we have always survived. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we declare in one voice. We will not be defeated. As Eunji's words rang out, a spark of hope ignited in the hearts of people everywhere. In hidden bunkers, ruined cities, and orbiting warships, humanity prepared to fight back. The war had only just begun, and Earth's children were ready to show the galaxy what they were made of. The battle for Proxima Centauri, Earth's nearest star system, was not going well. General Ta-1 watched from the bridge of his ship as another human cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. "Pull back," he shouted. "We can't hold this position." As the human fleet retreated, Zarkon ships swarmed forward. Their weapons were stronger, their shields tougher. It seemed nothing could stop them. Ta-1's ship shook as it took a hit. "Damage report," he called out. "Shields at 30%, sir," an officer replied. "We can't take much more of this." Gritting his teeth, Ta-1 gave the order he never wanted to give. "Send the signal. We're abandoning the Proxima system." As the fleet jumped to light speed, leaving the lost colony behind, Ta-1 felt a heavy weight in his chest. How many more systems would they lose? Back on Earth, in a secret underground lab, Dr. Yu-Jin worked tirelessly. Her hair was messy, and dark circles ringed her eyes. She hadn't slept in days. Come on," she muttered, adjusting dials on a strange-looking device. It hummed and glowed, then sputtered and died. Yu-Jin slammed her fist on the table in frustration. A voice came from the lab entrance. "Dr. Yu-Jin, the president is asking for an update." Yu-Jin sighed. "Tell her I'm close. I just need more time." But time was something humanity didn't have. Every day brought news of another defeat, another world lost to the Zarkon. In what was left of New Seoul, Captain Sung Min led a group of soldiers through the ruins. They were on a dangerous mission to rescue trapped civilians. Suddenly, a soldier held up his hand. "Sir, I hear something." They all froze, listening. A chittering sound echoed off the broken buildings. Sung Min's eyes widened. "Zarkon, take cover." The air filled with laser fire as Zarkon troops attacked from all sides. Sung Min and his team fought back bravely, but they were outnumbered. "Fall back," Sung Min yelled. "Get to the tunnels." As they retreated, Sung Min saw a young soldier fall, hit by Zarkon fire. Without hesitation, he ran back, scooped up the wounded man, and carried him to safety. In the dark tunnels beneath the city, Sung Min tended to the injured soldier. "What's your name, kid?" he asked. "Junho, sir," the young man replied, wincing in pain. Sung Min smiled sadly. "You did well, Junho. We'll get you fixed up." But as he looked around at his tired, battered team, Sung Min wondered how much longer they could keep fighting. Up in space, Admiral Min Jun faced a difficult decision. The Zarkon were pushing towards Mars, Earth's last line of defense. If Mars fell, Earth would be next. "We need to stop them here," Min Jun said to his officers, no matter the cost. The battle for Mars was fierce. Human ships fought with everything they had, but the Zarkon were relentless. Min Jun watched as ship after ship was destroyed. Just when all seemed lost, a message came through. "Admiral," an excited voice said, "Dr. Yu-Jin has done it. The new weapon is ready." Min Jun's heart raced. Get it to the front lines now. But as the new weapon was being prepared, the Zarkon launched a massive attack. Hundreds of their ships descended on Mars. On the red planet's surface, Colonel Jeho and his troops braced for impact. "Stand your ground," he shouted as the sky darkened with enemy ships. The battle was chaos. Zarkon troops poured onto the planet, their claws tearing through human defenses. Jeho fought bravely, rallying his soldiers, but they were being overwhelmed. Just as all hope seemed lost, a bright light filled the sky. A human ship appeared, carrying Dr. Yu-Jin's new weapon. It fired, and a strange energy wave swept across the battlefield. The effect was immediate. Zarkon ships began to falter, their systems disrupted by the energy. On the ground, the alien soldiers stumbled, suddenly confused and disoriented. "Push them back," Jiho roared, seizing the moment. With renewed energy, the human forces counterattacked. As the tide of battle turned, Admiral Minjun allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the war began, humanity had won a significant victory. But the war was far from over. As reports of the battle spread, bringing hope to the battered human race, the Zarkon regrouped. They would not be defeated so easily. In the depths of space, High Overlord Vexcor received news of the defeat at Mars. His claws clicked in anger. "So," he hissed, "the prey has teeth after all. No matter, we will simply have to bite harder." As both sides prepared for the next phase of the war, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Humanity had showed it could fight back, but would it be enough to survive? The mood on Earth had changed. For the first time since the war began, there was hope. Dr. Yu Jin's new weapon, the quantum disruptor, had proven its worth in the Battle of Mars. Now, it was time to take the fight to the enemy. Admiral Minjun stood before a huge star map, planning the next move. "We'll hit them here, here, and here," he said, pointing to different star systems. "The Zarkon won't know what hit them." As the human fleet prepared for battle, Dr. Yu Jin worked on improving her invention. She hadn't slept in days, but her eyes shone with excitement. "If we can boost the power," she muttered to herself, "we might be able to disable their ships completely." Meanwhile, on the ruins of Earth's moon base, Captain Sung Min and his team were on a dangerous mission. They needed to reactivate the old defense systems to protect Earth from future attacks. "Watch your step," Sung Min warned as they entered the damaged base. "The gravity's unstable here." Suddenly, alarms blared. "Zarkon ships incoming," shouted Junho, the young soldier Sung Min had saved earlier. "Everyone to battle stations," Sung Min ordered. "We need to hold them off until the defenses are online." The sky lit up with laser fire as human and Zarkon ships clashed above the moon's surface. Inside the base, Sung Min's team fought desperately to get the old systems working. Come on," Sung Min muttered, his fingers flying over the control panel. With a loud hum, the base's weapons came to life. Powerful beams shot out, tearing through the Zarkon ships. "We did it," Junho cheered. But their victory was short-lived. A massive Zarkon battleship appeared, its weapons charging. Just then, a fleet of human ships dropped out of light speed. Leading them was Admiral Minjun's flagship, armed with the latest quantum disruptor. "Fire," Minjun commanded. A wave of energy pulsed out, engulfing the Zarkon fleet. The alien ships stuttered and stopped, their systems scrambled. "Now's our chance," Minjun said. "All ships, attack." The battle was fierce but quick. Without their advanced technology, the Zarkon were no match for the determined human forces. Soon, the moon's orbit was filled with the wreckage of alien ships. As the dust settled, Minjun contacted the moon base. "Good work, Captain Sung Min. The moon is ours again." Back on Earth, President Yunji addressed the world. "Today, we have won a great victory," she said. "But the war is far from over. We must push forward and take back what is ours." Her words sparked a fire in people's hearts. All over Earth, humans began to rebuild, to plan, to fight back. In a secret Zarkon base, High Overlord Vexcor raged at his commanders. "How?" he screeched. "How are these primitive creatures defeating us?" One brave commander spoke up. "They are more resourceful than we thought, High Overlord. Perhaps we underestimated them." Vexcor's eyes narrowed. "Then we shall not make that mistake again. Prepare the Worldbreaker." As the Zarkon plotted their revenge, humanity pressed its advantage. Admiral Minjun led a daring attack on a key Zarkon supply base. Dr. Yu Jin's improved quantum disruptor made short work of the base's defenses. "Look at them run," Jun-Ho said, watching the Zarkon ships flee. Sung Min nodded, but his face was serious. Don't get overconfident, kid. The Zarkon are down, but not out. His words proved true. Just as the human fleet was celebrating their victory, a massive Zarkon ship appeared. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. By the stars, Min Jun whispered, "What is that thing?" The answer came in a galaxy-wide broadcast from High Overlord Vexcor himself. "Humans," he said, his voice dripping with hatred. "You have proven to be annoying prey, but no longer. Behold, the World Breaker." The enormous ship's main cannon began to glow. In a flash of terrible light, an entire planet in the system shattered into pieces. Horror spread through the human fleet. This weapon could destroy Earth with a single shot. "All ships, fall back," Min Jun ordered. "We need to warn Earth." As the human fleet retreated, Vexcor's laughter echoed through space. "Run, little prey," he mocked. "Your extinction is at hand." The journey back to Earth was tense. Min Jun gathered his top officers, including Sung Min and Dr. Yu Jin. "We need a plan," he said. "Everything we've fought for is at stake." Yu Jin spoke up, her voice determined. "The quantum disruptor might work, but we'd need to get much closer. And we'd only have one shot." Sung Min nodded. "It's risky, but what choice do we have? Earth is counting on us." As they neared their home planet, the crew could see the massive shape of the World Breaker approaching from the other side. Min Jun took a deep breath. "This is it," he said. "The fate of humanity rests on this battle. May the stars be with us." The final confrontation was about to begin. Despite their fears, every human knew one thing: they would fight to the very end. The galaxy was about to learn just how dangerous humanity could be when pushed to the brink. The Earth hung in space, beautiful and blue. But now, a dark shadow loomed over it. The Zarkon World Breaker had arrived, ready to destroy humanity's home. Admiral Min Jun stood on the bridge of his ship, his face set in grim determination. "All ships, report in," he ordered. One by one, the captains of Earth's fleet answered. Last to speak was Captain Sung Min. "Moonbase standing by." "Admiral, we're with you." Min Jun nodded. "This is it, everyone. We stop them here, or Earth falls. Good luck, and Godspeed." As the human fleet moved to engage the World Breaker, Dr. Yu Jin worked frantically in her lab. She had to find a way to boost the quantum disruptor's power. It was their only hope against the massive Zarkon ship. Suddenly, she had an idea. "That's it," she exclaimed. She grabbed her communicator. "Admiral, I need to speak with you immediately." In space, the battle had begun. Human ships darted around the World Breaker, firing everything they had. But their weapons seemed useless against its powerful shields. "Keep firing," Min Jun ordered. "We need to buy Dr. Yu Jin more time." Inside the World Breaker, High Overlord Vexcor watched the battle with amusement. "Foolish creatures," he chittered. "They still think they can win." He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge the main cannon. Let's show these humans true power." As the World Breaker's main cannon began to glow, a small ship broke away from the human fleet. It was piloted by Jun-Ho, the young soldier who had fought alongside Sung Min. "This is crazy," Jun-Ho muttered to himself. But he knew what he had to do. His ship carried Dr. Yu Jin's modified quantum disruptor. It was powerful, but had a very short range. Someone had to get close enough to use it. Jun-Ho's ship weaved through the battle, dodging Zarkon fire. He was getting closer to the World Breaker. Just a little further. Suddenly, his ship rocked with an impact. "I'm hit," he yelled into his comm. "I can't make it." "Hold on, kid." It was Sung Min's voice. His ship appeared beside Jun-Ho's, providing cover fire. "We'll get you there." Together, the two ships pushed towards the World Breaker. The massive Zarkon ship loomed larger and larger in their view screens. On the World Breaker's bridge, Vexcor noticed the approaching ships. "Swat those insects," he ordered lazily. But Sung Min and Jun Ho were too quick. They dodged and weaved, getting closer and closer. Finally, they were in range. Now, Jun Ho, Sung Min yelled. Jun Ho hit the button. The modified quantum disruptor fired, sending a wave of energy towards the world breaker. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the massive ship's lights flickered, its weapons powered down. The world breaker drifted, dead in space. It worked. Jun Ho cheered. We did it. Admiral Min Jun's voice came over the comm. All ships, attack now. The world breaker is vulnerable. The human fleet swarmed the disabled Zarkon ship, their weapons finally able to penetrate its shields. Explosions bloomed across its surface. Inside, Vex Core rage. How? How did they do this? He turned to his crew. Abandon ship. We must. But it was too late. A final barrage from the human fleet struck the world breaker's core. The massive ship exploded in a blinding flash of light. As the light faded, cheers erupted across the human fleet. They had done it. They had destroyed the world breaker and saved Earth. Back on the planet, people poured into the streets, celebrating. President Yunji addressed the world, tears in her eyes. Today, we have won more than a battle. We have secured our future. The Zarkon fought us weak, but we have proven them wrong. Humanity stands strong. In the days that followed, the tide of war shifted dramatically. Without their superweapon, the Zarkon began to lose ground. Human forces, led by heroes like Min Jun, Sung Min, and Jun Ho, pushed them back system by system. Other alien races, who had been watching the war closely, began to see humans in a new light. The Xinfar, a peaceful but technologically advanced species, sent ambassadors to Earth. We have observed your struggle. The Xinfar ambassador told President Yunji, your species has shown remarkable resilience and ingenuity. We would be honored to form an alliance. As humanity began to reclaim its lost colonies and push into Zarkon space, the galaxy watched in awe. The prey had become the predator. The hunted had become the hunters. But the war was not over yet. Deep in Zarkon territory, the remnants of their fleet gathered. The Zarkon were wounded, but not defeated. They would make one last, desperate stand. As Admiral Min Jun prepared for the final push into Zarkon space, he knew the hardest battle was yet to come. But looking at the determined faces of his crew, he felt confident. We've come this far, he said. Let's finish this. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The human fleet moved silently through the dark space of the Zarkon home system. Admiral Min Jun stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars. This was it, the final push to end the war. All ships report ready, Admiral, said his second-in-command. Min Jun nodded. Then let's finish this. For Earth. As the fleet approached the Zarkon homeworld, alarms began to blare. The enemy had spotted them. Zarkon ships incoming, shouted an officer. Hundreds of them. Min Jun's eyes narrowed. So they saved their best for last. All ships, battle formation. Prepare to engage. The space around them exploded into chaos. Laser fire lit up the darkness as human and Zarkon ships clashed. On a smaller ship near the front of the fleet, Captain Sung Min and Jun Ho worked together at the controls. There's so many of them, Jun Ho said, his voice tense. Sung Min nodded grimly. But we've come too far to fail now. Keep firing. Their ship darted between larger Zarkon vessels, launching precise strikes at weak points. Other human ships followed their lead, slowly pushing back the Zarkon defense. Back on Earth, Dr. Yu Jin watched the battle through long-range sensors. She clenched her fists, wishing she could do more to help. Suddenly, an idea struck her. That's it, she exclaimed. She rushed to her communicator. Admiral Min Jun, I have a plan. As the battle raged on, Min Jun received Yu Jin's message. His eyes widened as he listened. It's risky, he said, but it might just work. He turned to his crew. New plan, everyone. We're going to give the Zarkon a taste of their own medicine." Following Yujin's instructions, the human fleet began to fall back. The Zarkon, sensing victory, pressed forward. "That's it," Min Jun muttered. "Come on, take the bait." Just as the Zarkon fleet bunched together for a final assault, Min Jun gave the order. "Now, fire the quantum disruptor." A massive wave of energy pulsed out from the human ships. It washed over the Zarkon fleet, disabling their weapons and shields. "All ships, attack," Min Jun commanded. The human fleet surged forward, tearing into the helpless Zarkon ships. Explosions blossomed in the darkness of space as ship after ship fell. On the Zarkon homeworld, High Overlord Vexcor watched in horror as his fleet was decimated. "Impossible," he chittered. "How can this be happening?" And Eight approached him, trembling. "High Overlord, the humans have breached our defenses. They're landing on the planet." Vexcor's eyes narrowed. "Then we shall meet them on the ground. Prepare my battle armor." As human dropships landed on the Zarkon homeworld, some men led a team of soldiers into the alien city. The streets were chaos as Zarkon warriors rushed to defend their home. "Stay together," some men shouted over the sound of battle. "We need to reach the central hive." Junho fought beside him, his young face set in determination. They pushed forward, step by step, against fierce Zarkon resistance. Suddenly, a massive figure appeared before them. It was High Overlord Vexcor, clad in gleaming battle armor. "So," Vexcor hissed, "the prey thinks it has become the predator." Some Nin stepped forward, his weapon raised. "It's over, Vexcor. Surrender, and we can end this without more bloodshed." Vexcor's answer was a savage roar as he charged towards them. The battle was fierce. Vexcor's armor made him nearly invincible, shrugging off human weapons fire. But Sung Min and his team refused to give up. "We need to find a weak spot," Junho yelled. Some men noticed a small gap in the armor near Vexcor's neck. "There," he shouted. "Junho, can you make the shot?" Junho nodded, taking careful aim. He fired, and his shot found its mark. Vexcor roared in pain, his armor sparking and failing. With a final, desperate lunge, some men tackled the Zarkon leader. They grappled on the ground, human determination against alien strength. "This is for Earth," some men grunted, and with all his might, he struck the final blow. High Overlord Vexcor, terror of the galaxy, fell still. A hush fell over the battlefield. Zarkon warriors, seeing their leader defeated, began to lay down their weapons. Sung Nin stood, breathing heavily. He looked at Junho and the rest of his team. "We did it," he said simply. As word of Vexcor's defeat spread, the remaining Zarkon forces surrendered. The war that had threatened to extinguish humanity was finally over. Admiral Min Jun's voice came over the comm, filled with emotion. "To all human forces, the Zarkon have surrendered. We've won. Earth is safe." Cheers erupted across the human fleet and on the ground. Tears of joy and relief flowed freely. As the dust settled on the Zarkon homeworld, some men looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, Earth was waiting for them to come home. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven itself not just as survivors, but as a force to be reckoned with. The era of human expansion into the stars was about to begin. 1 year had passed since the fall of the Zarkon Empire. Earth was healing, its cities being rebuilt, its people looking to the stars with hope instead of fear. In the newly constructed United Galaxy Council chamber in New York, President Yunji stood before representatives from a dozen alien races. The room buzzed with excitement and nervous energy. "Friends, allies, fellow beings of the galaxy," Yunji began, her voice strong and clear. "Today marks a new era for all of us. The war is over, and now we must build a lasting peace." Among the audience, Admiral Min Jun sat tall and proud. Beside him were Captain Sung Min and Junho, now a decorated officer himself. They had seen the worst of the war, and now they were here to shape the peace. Humanity has proven itself, Yunji continued. We faced extinction and emerged victorious. But we do not seek to rule through fear. As the Zarkon did, we extend a hand of friendship to all peaceful races. The Xinthar ambassador stood up. We gladly accept that hand, he said. Humanity's bravery and ingenuity have earned our respect and trust. Other ambassadors voiced their agreement. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of it all. After the meeting, Min Jun, Sung Min, and Jun Ho walked through the streets of New York. The city was a mix of human and alien architecture now, a symbol of the new galactic community. It's hard to believe how far we've come, Jun Ho said, looking up at a passing Xinthar ship. Sung Min nodded. From prey to protectors of the galaxy. Who would have thought? Min Jun smiled. We always had it in us. We just needed the chance to show it. Their walk took them to a new building, the Galactic Defense Force headquarters. Inside, they found Dr. Yu Jin hard at work. Ah, you're here, she said, looking up from a holographic display. Come see this. She showed them plans for a new ship, more advanced than anything they had built before. With the combined knowledge of all our new allies, we're making leaps in technology, she explained excitedly. Impressive, Min Jun said, but let's hope we never need to use it in war again. Yu Jin's face grew serious. That's the goal. But if there are more threats out there, we'll be ready. As they discussed the future of galactic defense, a message came through. It was from a human colony on a distant planet, reporting a strange discovery. Looks like we have our first mission, Sung Min said, reading the message. They found ruins of an ancient civilization. Could be dangerous. Jun Ho grinned. When has that ever stopped us? The team prepared for their new adventure. As they boarded their ship, crowds of humans and aliens cheered them on. They were no longer just war heroes, but explorers and peacekeepers. In orbit around Earth, they paused to look back at their home planet. It seemed so small from up here, but they knew its impact on the galaxy was immense. Where to, Admiral? Sung Min asked. Min Jun looked at the star map. There, he said, pointing to a distant system. Let's see what's out there. As their ship jumped to light speed, Min Jun thought about how much had changed. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. They had proven themselves not just as survivors, but as leaders. On planets across the galaxy, other races looked up at the stars with new feelings. Some felt hope, seeing humans as protectors. Others felt fear, knowing the strength humans had shown. But all knew one thing. The age of humanity had begun. Back on Earth, in a small classroom, a young girl listened as her teacher told the story of the Great War. The girl's eyes were wide with wonder. And that, the teacher said, is how humanity became known as the galaxy's supreme predator. Not through cruelty like the Zarkon, but through bravery, cleverness, and the will to survive. The girl raised her hand. Do you think there are more aliens out there? She asked. More adventures to have. The teacher smiled. Without a doubt. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be out there, exploring the stars. As the class ended, the girl looked out the window at the sky. Somewhere up there, Min Jun and his team were making new discoveries. Humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, countless wonders and dangers waited to be found. But whatever the universe had in store, humanity was ready. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. They had become the stuff of legends. The humans were no longer the hunted. They were the hunters, the explorers, the peacekeepers. And the galaxy would never be the same again.